Test 1, 2, 3. Okay, there he goes. What's up, guys? Sorry about that. I thought that I was connected and I'm not. Good thing I checked before I went into everything that I wanted to talk about today. Happy J6mas. For those of you who celebrate, happy J6. Our right to protest day back in those days in 2020 when I believe it was 2020. Yeah, I have it so long ago. It's crazy. I feel like it was just yesterday. I remember being in DC. I remember being with my friends. I remember it like it was yesterday, but it's just so crazy how time flies. J6mas, for those who celebrate, J6mas. Anyway, for today. So caught that Dan Bongino was going ham on X earlier today, and I thought that we would go through some of um his tweets. Now, Dan Bongino, I believe he put in his resignation at the end of last year. And to me, it was a little bit surprising, but at the same time, I feel like he is way more effective as a voice in the conservative sphere. And, he had a very relatable but staunch stance in the conservative sphere. And I do feel like that is missing. It kind of feels like, the disciplinary uncle, but like you understand the discipline, like you understand where they're coming from. And I do feel like Dan Bongino was one of those voices that he sacrificed his own voice. He was in this podcast sphere. He was making millions of dollars. He had so many sponsorship deals, and he cut it all off just to go into the force, into I believe as the deputy director of the FBI. And he tried it out, and I don't know what happened, but he decided to exit out. I do believe that he is more effective as a podcaster, as a leading voice in the conservative sphere. And what he posted earlier today makes a lot of sense. I think that he makes a lot of sense. So I'm just going to jump right to it. Now, Dan Bongino on X, this is what he had to say. Good to see you all. I missed you. One of his first tweets. Thanks for everything while we worked on cleaning up, working in the administration as the experience of a lifetime. I'll have some I'm sorry, working in the administration was an experience of a lifetime. I'll have some announcements coming up, but I'm taking a couple days to spend with family. Couple things. Thank you for your interest in the show and the return date. We will have something for you soon. The Trump team is not kidding around. It's an otherworldly experience from the other side. He's determined and focused, and having been around quite a few presidents, this one broke the mold. If we blocked you, I think this is where it like really escalated, because Dan Bongino is not in any way, shape, or form. He is not shy about blocking people. And I admire that about him. He's just no nonsense. Like, I don't have time for you. I'm just going to block you. I'm just not even going to entertain you. You know what? Same. I feel that way sometimes. You know what I mean? So he said, if we blocked you, it's because we care so little about your BS that we deem it not worthy even seeing. If you're BSing and whining about it, it means you can't exist without seeing and commenting on ours. You'll need to get over that. We do it because there's nothing Black pillars and anti-Trumpers want more than to create division and drama. We're about results, and we'll talk about some of it soon. Love you all, and thanks again. Flaming Elmo emoji. He means GIF. I apologize. I'm a little bit congested. I'm not. I don't feel sick, but I'm still kind of TMI. I'm still kind of mucusy. So just for your information, how I am conducting myself tonight. So anyway, I am glad to see him back. Now, this is where things escalated, because he did say, like, I'm just going to mute you. We don't even have time for you. So he added this on. He said, let me add this from the jump. There's no confusion. So there's no confusion. I wanted this movement. I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me start over. Boop, boop, boop. Rewind. Let me add this from the jump. So there's no confusion. I started in this movement as a candidate during the Tea Party movement, and I began my political commentary career shortly thereafter. I helped build this movement, and sure as hell am not going to let it get hijacked by a group of black pillars, life losers, grifters, and bums. And I 100%, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Right? You know what I'm going to say. I've been saying it in every single video, every stream since I've been streaming. You guys know what I'm going to say. The woke right has infiltrated the conservative sphere. These radical woke left adjacent influencers in the conservative sphere who sound no different than Cenk Uygur, and they sound no different than Don Lemon and Joy Reid. Like, they sound no different than these people. They have infiltrated the conservative sphere, and they are infiltrating the minds of conservatives. um, Conservatives that are very impressionable, might I add, but they are, indeed, they are infiltrating the conservative sphere. And I've said this many times before. I believe that, and just to recap again, I believe it began with the I'm sorry, the black pill, red pill, manosphere, podcaster series. And this was more like, I wanna say, like, 2023 was, like, the peak of manosphere and red pill, and I genuinely believe it was in stages to weaken the minds of men first, and then to progress and graduate this into something else. That's what I personally that this is just my personal hypothesis of how this happened, but this definitely is happening in the conservative sphere. Now, he said, "I'm not gonna let this get hijacked by a group of black pillars, life losers, and grifters and bums." I am so glad that Dan Bongino said that, because it definitely is getting hijacked. There are so many influencers that popped out of nowhere. They amassed a following, massive following out of nowhere, and they are just influencing the conservative sphere, Christians, derailing them, confusing them, feeding them this doctrine that is just not sound. And it is really changing our movement for the worst. We are plummeting, and I don't like to see that either. I've seen, as a small influencer, as a content creator who has always been in the smaller sphere, but still in the sphere nonetheless. I saw this. I've been on, if I began on Instagram, I started pointing this out ever since the BLM riots and, the COVID agendas, the mainstream media, the celebrities. I've seen it all. I've been talking about this for a long time. So I have a little bitty foot in the space, but nonetheless I do have it. And it's disheartening to see these people that have showed up out of nowhere and hijack this entire movement. So I concur with him anyway. I'm kind of going on a tangent. We are a movement guided by truth. The essence of conservative ideology is the preservation of eternal truths. We are not the latest thing group. We are not political cannibals. I've watched quietly from the inside while doing the job I was hired to do, but I'm back now, and it's time to restore balance to the force. That one was for Goy. I don't know what that means, but I don't know what that means. As we get ready to make some announcements about the future of the show, I want to warn the haters, the zeros. We've been at this a long time. We live for this stuff. This isn't our first, second, or 10th rodeo. We've seen this a lot of dip S's come and go. We revel in making you angry enough to show your asses. It's glorious. I concur. Like, I can jive with that. And I'm all like, to this comment, I'm all about free speech, all about free speech. This is why, like, I say let people talk. I'm not about silencing anybody. I say let people talk. I might critique their talking points. I might comment on their talking points, but I want them to talk, because why? Why would we want these wolves in sheep's clothing just, you know, sorry, turning on the light here. Why would we want these wolves in sheep's clothing just going about their day and not, and concealing what they really wanna say, but then they're, like, slowly manipulating people in their own little way. I want them to talk. I want people to talk, you know what I mean? So, I am so about people talking. I am a free speech absolutist as well, and if there is somebody out there that is, avid about hating Jewish people, hating Israel, I wanna know about it. I wanna know. I wanna steer clear of who these people are, so I say let them talk because it illustrates who they are and it illustrates their ass. Excuse my language, but it's true. Sorry. Um, anyway, he says, "We've got midterms coming up and there's no time for BS. This administration is cooking a real change simmers." Oh, this administration is cooking and real change simmers. And here's the thing, like, I believe that Dan Bongino, I mean, come on. He just came from the FBI. He came from a three-letter agency. You don't think that Trump was like, "Hey, look, you tried it out. I think you're more effective as a voice." Trump, like, Trump just sees. He sees the economics of many things, the economics of business, the economics of politics. He's just very gifted in that. That's what I truly believe. That's why I think I'm a Trump loyalist, you know? I don't think Trump is not a Christian. I don't think that he is a savior of any kind, but I do think that he is a Cyrus in the Bible. You know what I mean? Like, I think he follows Nebuchadnezzar. Like, I think he is a Cyrus. I don't think that he's a genuine Christian. I don't think that he believes, but I do believe that he is ordained by God because God can use non-believers. And I do believe that Trump has a lot more use by God in good than evil. So I do believe that Trump is a good leader. This is why I am a Trump loyalist. I do believe that he had a talk with Dan Bongino, and he was like, "Look, I know that you had this experience, before you as a podcaster, but I think that you are much more effective as a podcaster." I genuinely believe that that's the conversation that happened between Trump and Dan Bongino. That's just like a personal hypothesis, and I do believe Dan Bongino is going to be a more effective person in this era as a voice versus behind the scenes. So I'm very happy to see him do that. So he says, "We've got midterms coming up." And that's like a huge indicator to me because midterms are coming up in a couple months, few months, and these black pillars, these MAGA grifters, people who are in the facade in a Trojan horse of a conservative, and they're slowly wrecking the conservative movement, slowly and fracturing us, slowly and in such a sly manner. I believe that we need to call this out very fast, and I think Dan Bongino is the person to do it. If you're spending your entire day BSing and whining three-fourths of the terms, still to go, please find the exits. There's no time for it. There's no in there. It's not infighting when you exercise cancer killing the host. I'm sorry. It's not infighting when you excise a cancer killing the host. It's outfighting because you're not part of any movement I'm familiar with. Looking forward to big things ahead. Can't wait to tell you about it, Dan. Now, this very much so is my I concur 100% with his opinion. I concur 100%. And if you guys follow me on X, which by the way, if you're not following me on X, this is my handle, natlydenise_. Go follow me there. That's where I'm spending a lot of time of my day, creating content, commentating on things throughout the day. I listen, it's not infighting. Like, even as a Christian, you are like, what is a shepherd shepherding his sheep if you can't call out the wolves? Like, what is that? You're not a shepherd. Shepherds, I mean, think about King David, for instance, when he was a kid. What did he do? What did he do? He defended his herd from the wolves, from the bears, like, from the big beasts. Like, David, that's how he built his strength. David did that when he was a kid. He was groomed into doing that. God allowed David was anointed before he was a king. He was anointed, and then he went back into his regular profession, you know? as this shepherd. But what he wasn't just like this shepherd. The Bible made it very apparent that that David was anointed, but he went back being a shepherd. He was being groomed and being prepared into this role as David, um, killing the bears and fending off these beasts and these pestilence and everything that was affecting the herd, the sheep, the flock of sheep, I guess you can say. And why would the Bible say that? Why would the Bible emphasize on that? You know what I mean? Um, I just don't think that as Christians we don't just sit by idly and just say, it's infighting and we just need peace. The Bible says there's always a time for fighting, there's a time for war, there's a time for peace. And I think that right now there is a cancer in the conservative movement that, in my personal belief, like, I'm concerned about it because it's derailing Christians and it's confusing Christians and it's making more heretics than it is converts. And that concerns me. You know what I mean? And it makes me angry. It genuinely makes me angry, especially that there's so much of this weaved in anti-Semitism in this entire movement, which to me shows me everything that this is a spiritual war. But this genuinely, we still have a civic duty to vote as Christians and as citizens of our local governments and of our bigger governments. We are still endowed with that civic duty to vote. So I 100% concur with Dan Bongino when he says that this is not just infighting. Like, we are excising a cancer killing the host. And I mentioned this is why you should follow me on X, because I've made a post about this. This is an immune response to the body. White blood cells don't apologize. They don't you have a virus in your body, they don't your white blood cells, they say, "Oops, I'm sorry. Like, I've got to go kill this virus really quick." Like, "Oops, I'm sorry, you have an infection. I've got to, like, go. Do you mind if I go kill this infection?" Your white blood cells just do it. They just do it. They just do it. They go, they identify the infection. They identify how to kill off that infection, and they attack. That's all they do. You know what I mean? So this is an infection in the body, and I would say this is an infection in the body of Christ as well, and it is our duty to call this stuff out. So, anyway, concur 100% with Don Bongino. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, by the way. I'm going on a tangent. Been on, like, almost 20 minutes on this tangent. Still some Dan Bongino. So, I just, like, I am all about him coming back. He says 3 million, views on the post below, the one we just read. The support for Trump administration in the working world is strong, and people are tired of endless BS from the black pillared chicken little grifters. Watch their tactics, and once you see them, you'll never unsee them. They use a couple of different tactics to BS you. First, and I believe that he is talking about Candace Owens and her cronies, her likely people. You know what I mean? He says, first, they overload you with information. And this is Ian Carroll, this is Candace Owens, this is James Lee, this is Ryan Mata, like all of these influencers on social media that have once again amassed millions of followers all of a sudden and had this massive influence. Like, they are saying weird things and leading you astray into weird conspiracy theories. Some of them have like some backing, like in Carroll. I was starting to pay attention to him because he had some genuine good points and good conspiracy theories that he went down rabbit holes to um illustrate. But then he very sharply pivoted into this anti-Trump, anti-Israel, anti-Jewish people type of trope. And I'm not down for that. So this is what they do. They overload you with information, but they underwhelm you with evidence. Here's an example of what I mean. Dan Bongino says, they'll try to convince you that John Smith robbed a bank. So they'll data download you on loose, and lose you into chaos. I think he misspelled that, loose. Lose you into chaos. They'll tell you things that might be true, that are they They aren't evidence of anything. They'll tell you John was at the bank that day, that John knew someone who worked there, that John arrested 10 years ago for a misdemeanor, but they won't tell you that the fingerprints, video, DNA of the thief matches someone else. Solid investigators sift through the chaotic information, mine the evidence, gems. Charlatans and morons do the opposite. Second, black pillars will rarely take on the president directly. They know they'll get destroyed by the boss, wind up in the political graveyard of egomaniacs who thought that they could take the president on with BS as a proxy fight. They try to pick off his allies, knowing many of them are limited in ways that they can fight back. And this is true. And this is why this is because Trump knows that the local government is the most important thing. He knows it. That's why he endorses. Have you ever seen a president endorse so many local officials, so many local, candidates? Have you seen a president do that? Trump is unique in doing this, and that is why this is because Trump knows that the local government is what makes a difference in your daily lives. It's like the federal government, whatever, like what, Trump overturned Roe versus Wade, it's still left up to the state. Like, that's the whole point. COVID, for instance, when we had COVID and many black pillars have gone against Trump because of this. Well, he did Operation Warp Speed and he did all of this and all this. Guess what? He also did. He left it up to the state. And that's how we saw so much corruption. Many people they can't even think about it that way. That's the reality. Trump is not a dictator. He's not going to micromanage every local government, every local state, every local town, every local city. He's not going to do that. First of all, that's not even his role. But what he can do is illustrate that your own local government is corrupt, and you, as a citizen, that you have a local duty to expose it. You know what I mean? So that's what I feel like he did. Um, so that you can pick off his allies, all of his little local endorsements, you can pick them off because they're not going to have so much defense. Everyone inside the administration I cross paths with is busting their asses to move the needle on real change. You can do things fast or you can do things correctly. I agree. And this is what I've been saying. This is what I have been saying. So many people are like, Trump and Bongino and Cash Patel, they haven't done anything. It's like, dudes and dudettes, you guys are giving these guys a year in, a couple months in, and you haven't even given them a chance. You haven't even given them a chance um, to actually work an entire, term. We're only 1 month. What I'm sorry, 1 month, 1 year in, and it's like you guys expect the sea to be split by Donald Trump and by Cash Patel. That's crazy to me. Um, So I agree. You can do things fast, you can do them sloppy, or you can do them correctly. And what have we seen? I mean, think about Maduro, for instance. Do you think that Trump just thought on a whim to overturn Maduro? I'm sure that took a lot of planning. I'm sure, I don't know, I have my personal hypothesis on things, but I'm sure that there was a lot of planning in that, for instance, a lot of playing chess. So you can do things fast and sloppy, or you can do it very carefully. You can rarely do both in government. Even with those constraints, and the administration's accomplishments are breathtaking. I want to be clear on this, and this is true. Give Trump kudos where it is due. Trump is a phenomenal president. I don't care what I don't hate you if you disagree with me. Let me just make that clear. I don't hate you if you disagree with me. I understand. I have family, I have close friends that hate Trump. Okay. I love Trump. I'm a Trump loyalist. But that's not the reason why I see his accomplishments. He is a phenomenal president, and I think that he moves mountains in a presidency in a year that other presidents couldn't even fathom doing. And that's why I'm a loyalist, because I believe in his ability to do these things. You know what I mean? Um, so he's like, he's accomplishing a lot. The disagreements are healthy and natural, but endless pessimism meant to strategically attack a movement from the inside is not about policy. It's about political cannibalism. And many of these grifters are hiding their real agendas from you. And that leads me to my next point. Third, the black pillars are infamous for telling you an administration policy or action is going to lead to the end of the world. Before the policy has even been given time to demonstrate results, you're seeing it how you're seeing it now with regard to Venezuela. Will it work out? Maybe. We will all see. But maybe give it a minute before you attack from the inside the tent while pretending you're an ally. Black pillars and grifters asked for this fight, not us. But I'm absolutely down to fight it. Absolutely down. And I am too. I am too. Like whatever platform I have, smaller content creator that I am down for this fight. I really am. I've been down for this fight. You guys go back on my content. Go back on my content. Go back on my videos. You see my progression. You see me call out Andrew Tate, which I believe is 100%. It is my personal hypothesis. This is my opinion. I think Andrew Tate is in on this entire thing. I think this whole op began with the red pill manosphere. I think he was part of that. I think Candace Owens is adjacent to that, and it's downstream from there. Um, I'm down for this fight because it angers me to see so many people that just popped out of nowhere just attack this administration out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Um, so good on him. Now, Dan Bongino is pulling punches because somebody who has just irked me lately has been former Congressman Matt Gaetz. He just like completely pivoted in his persona. Um, so he attacked Dan Bongino. He said, "When did Dan Bongino run for office, and how did he perform as a candidate?" Now, I did see what Grok did reply to this tweet, and Dan Bongino did pretty well in his performance as a candidate. And he actually tried many times to serve or run for local office or, what have you, different governmental positions. And he said, maybe if I spent more time at shady parties with moneyed insiders, I would have won. Taking a jab at Matt Gaetz. I heard, a little bit about that. You've always been a dick, by the way, grifting off your daddy like a suckling little doggy. When I met you at the Panhandle and you were a piece of S, it's written all over that phony face of yours. Now, Dan Bongino went for the looks. I don't like going for the looks. I genuinely I don't like going for the looks. Matt Gaetz he is a grift. In my personal opinion, I think that he's a grifter. I think that he is on a completely different agenda. He is unrecognizable from the Matt Gaetz that I knew, several years before. And he is definitely in on this Israel hate, this whole train raid. And I'm not about that. I'm not about that. So good. I am so, so excited to see Dan Bongino make his return. I'm excited to tune into his podcast. I tuned in before, but I'm really going to tune into I'm gonna be an avid fan, this time around, him returning back to his podcast. All right. Uh, before I go, let me see. Hawaiian princess says, "Still in shock, in awe. The President Trump arrested dictator Maduro, freaking epic." I agree. I think this is, so epic for Donald Trump to, capture a president, a dictator, a hostile influence, good on him. I agree. I think it's astonishing. All right. So, I have been I told you guys yesterday that my New Year's resolution is to meditate a little bit more deeply on scripture, and I have been. One of the Bible plans that I presented yesterday, just in case you don't have one, is to read two chapters of Old Testament, 2 chapters of New Testament. I believe what was it again? Dang it! I always forget what it is. It's like it's gonna result in reading a comprehensive piece of comprehensively all of the Bible many times. Um, read a proverb every day, whatever it's corresponding to whatever day. Like, so for instance, if today is the 6th, you're going to read Proverb 6, which is why you see Proverb 6 right in front of you. But this is pretty comprehensive, and you're going to get a lot of the Bible. And I can't find the plan that I wrote down. But anyway, if you follow me on X, I will retweet it, but there is a comprehensive plan that you can follow. Oh, here it is. 2 chapters of Old Testament, 1 chapter of Proverbs every day. So today's the 6th. We're going to read Proverbs 6, 1 chapter of New Testament, 1 chapter of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. That will result into a proverb. You'll read all the Proverbs every month. So that's 30 Proverbs every month. The Old Testament in a year, you'll read all of the Old Testament in a year. New Testament, you'll read it twice a year, and that'll result in the Gospels being read 4 times a year. So that, once again, that is 2 chapters of Old Testament, 1 chapter of Proverbs corresponding to the proverb number and the date, 1 chapter of New Testament, and 1 chapter of the Gospels. And if you follow that plan, you will read the Bible comprehensively throughout a year. Okay. So today is January 6th. Proverbs 6 talks a lot about like word of honor. Now, we've talked about yesterday, I caught you guys up. Proverbs 1 through 5 was really about wisdom, and Proverbs was begging you to adhere to wisdom, like learn about wisdom, and the fear of God is the start of fear of the Lord is the start of knowledge, you know? So that's the start of wisdom, and adhering to the teachings, adhering to biblical principles, you know, applying those in your life, that is wisdom. And so now we transition to Proverbs 6. It is talking about your word of honor. So I'm going to read in the Amplified version. I started reading in the Amplified version, and I discovered that I really, really like the Amplified version, although it over delivers a lot of information, and it expands on a lot of what like these lines mean. I really like it. So you guys can read this on your own time in your own version that you like, but I'm going to read it in Amplified today. So it says, parental counsel. My son, if you have become surety, um, guaranteed in debt or obligation for your neighbor, if you have given your pledge for the debt of a stranger or another outside your family, if you have been snared with the words of your lips, if you have been trapped by the speech of your mouth, do this now, my son, and release yourself from the obligation. Meaning, work yourself out of debt, work yourself out of that, you know, what you have sworn to. Do it. Do it doesn't mean exit, it means do it. Since you have become into the hand of your neighbor, you have come into the hand of your neighbor, go humble yourself and plead with your neighbor to pay his debt and release you. Give no unnecessary sleep to your eyes, no slumber, nor slumber to your eyelids. Tear yourself away like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter. Okay, that's pretty severe. So it's like God envisions what you being indebted to somebody, whether it is monetary debt or indebted, you know, by action, like you swear that you're going to do something, for instance, to for your neighbor, for your loved one, whatever. I will do this to you, do this for you, do it. You know, it says here, tear yourself away like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter. That is how God values word of honor, and that is how God values your pledge to one another. So if you make a pledge, you fulfill it. You know, that's what the Bible's calling you to do. And like the bird from the hand of the fowler, go to the ant, O lazy one, observe her ways and be wise, which having no chief, overseer, or ruler, she prepares her food in the summer, she brings in her provisions of that food in the winter, in the harvest. How long will you lie down? Oops. O lazy one, well, when will you arise from your sleep and learn self-discipline? Yet little sleep and little slumber, a little folding of the hands, a little lie down and rest. So your poverty will come like an approaching prowler who walks slowly but surely, and your need will come like an armed man, making you helpless. A worthless, and I love Amplify because it gives you a lot of these like cross references immediately in the scriptures. Water. A worthless person, a wicked man, and one who walks with a perverse, corrupt, vulgar mouth, who winks his eyes in mockery, who shuffles with his feet to signal, who points with his fingers to give submersive instruction, who perversely in his heart plots trouble and evil continually, who spreads discord and strife. Therefore, the crushing weight of his disaster will come suddenly upon him. Instantly, he will be broken. There will be no healing or remedy because he has no heart of God. He talks about wicked people here. These 6 things the Lord hates. Indeed, 7 of them are repulsive to him. A proud look. So this is what God hates. A proud look, being prideful, the attitude that makes one overestimate oneself and discount others, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that creates wicked plans, feet that run swiftly to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies. So these are things that God hates. A false witness who breathes out lies. But they bear false witness. They are constantly lying about people, even half truths, and one who spreads discord, rumors among brothers. Oh boy. Can you imagine what we're about to pivot into? We're going to talk about Candace Owens shortly after this. My son, be guided by your father's God-given commandment, instruction, and do not reject the teaching of your mother. Bind them continually upon your heart and tie them around your neck when you walk about. So this, again, Proverbs is begging you, heed instruction, heed wisdom, and not just like, don't just read about it, don't just learn about it, like tie that into who you are, weave that into your being, write it on your heart. Remember all of these instructions and this the wisdom that you learn. When you sleep, they will keep watch over you, and when you awake, they will talk to you. For the commandment is a lamp, and the teaching is a light. The reproofs or rebukes for discipline are the way of life. For you to keep you away from the evil woman, from the flattery of the smooth tongue of an immoral woman. Oh boy. Do not desire lust after her beauty in your heart, nor let her capture you with her eyelashes. um, for on account of a prostitute, one who is reduced to a piece of bread, to be eaten up, and the immoral woman hunts the precious life of a man. Can a man make a fire in his chest and his clothes not be burned, or can a man walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So talking about consequences here, like, can you do all this? Can you play with fire and not get burned? You know what I mean? Like you're treading on dangerous ground. So don't follow the ways of the wicked, as it begged you, back in Proverbs 1 through 5, it begged you, don't walk in the way of the wicked. Don't follow them. Don't do it. Don't mimic it. Don't do any of that because it's going to lead to destruction, So it begs you here not to do that again. Can you play with fire and not get scorched? So is the one who goes into his neighbor's wife. Whoever touches her will not be found innocent or go unpunished. People do not despise the thief if he steals to satisfy himself when he is hungry, but when he is found, he must repay 7 times what he stole. He must give the property of his house if necessary to his to meet his fine. But whoever commits adultery with a woman lacks common sense and a sound judgment and an understanding of moral principles. He who would destroy his soul does it. Wounds and disgrace he will find, and his blame will not be blotted out. For jealousy enrages the wronged husband. He will not spare the guilty one on the day of vengeance. He will not accept any ransom offered to buy him off or demanding full punishment, nor will he be satisfied through an offer him many gifts and bribes. Okay. So I will work on that, on just like kind of summarizing Proverbs as I go through every day. I realized that was pretty long. But still nonetheless a very important lesson. So there was a lot of things in there, including, you know, including keeping your word and keeping your pledges, all of that. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't follow the ways of the wicked. Excuse me. Don't follow the ways of the wicked, and basically keep wisdom in mind and on your heart. Okay. So let's pivot. Candace Owens. Oh boy, once again. Candace Owens. So Candace, just weeks ago, and this is what I'm talking about, the wicked ways, like this is just very obvious um, deception at the very least. At the very least, this is very obvious deception. Candace Owens just weeks ago, she was begging her followers, her fan base for funds for a security for a security force or whatever, because she said that there were some international League of Assassins that were ordered by the Macrons to assassinate her. Although shortly after claiming that, she went to Dollywood, she went to Tucker Carlson's Christmas party in a plastic tent. So I suspect that she wasn't being genuine about that. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that Candace Owens is telling the truth about that. And I have been very forthcoming in exposing that this is one of the ways that Candace Owens is not genuine about the way that she is misappropriating funds, in my personal opinion, because she's begging for these funds from her fan base, who are most of her fan base are common folk people like myself, who just live every day and get by. But she's over here wearing luxury items on her podcast day after day, night after night, hundreds of dollars in sweaters. I'm sorry, hundreds spent on one sweater, thousands on dresses. You guys have seen probably a live stream of me covering that. Um, this is another example. So this is her outfit for tonight. There is a sweater she wore by Victoria Beckham, $265. And in my personal opinion, if there were a league of international assassins after me and I genuinely needed protection, I would be spending every single penny on that protection and not worried about um, you know, labels and brands, things like that. $265 on a sweater. And I see like some of her fan base commenting like, well, that's what I spend on a sweater. And it's like, that's not what common people spend on sweaters. I'm sorry, but that's expensive. Like, to me, that's expensive. Okay. Like $265 is a lot in groceries. Okay. I'm an everyday person like you guys. Like that's not something cheap, okay? Like a good sweater, max, like these days, max, like 50, $60, maybe $75, maybe $75. But that's even on the high end. Yeah, not $265. And we've exposed that she's spending well over that amount for her clothes. $1,000 sweaters, $1,000 dresses for her Tucker Carlson Christmas party. What was it? A silk blouse that was like, lots of money again. So anyway, I just find it interesting that she's spending all this money on these sweaters and she needs all this money for security. Now, she began her podcast tonight, and I caught this little slip of hers where, she was basically she's basically trying to derail the audience away from Tyler Robinson being the shooter, the assassin of Charlie Kirk, which to me is so weird because there is some preliminary evidence that points to him, like the DNA of being on the gun and all that. Um, but nonetheless, she's always finding an excuse to derail her audience away from believing that Tyler Robinson is the assassin. Anyway, on her podcast today, she kind of let it slip that she doesn't know what the feds are investigating. She claims to having all these sources and insiders and all this, but she truly does not know 100% what the feds are investigating. Listen to this.
Or rather operates a business around the Cowboy Smokehouse, you may have footage that you're not even aware of. If you have information, maybe the feds called around, I don't know. Please, we are inviting you to send us an email to moretips@Candace, or rather operates a business. If you have information, maybe the feds called around, I don't know.
Maybe the feds called around, I don't know. So Candace Owens does not know what the feds have. She does not know a full review of evidence. She does not know what they are withholding from the public. She doesn't know. Why? Because Candace Owens is not a homicide investigator. She is a podcaster LARPing as one. You know what I mean? Like, why would they give her all this information? They're not gonna. That's just not standard in a homicide investigation. So, she doesn't know what the feds have or not. So, this is why I say, like, this is why I make fun of people who are like, "There's holes in the investigation. Like, you truly believe this investigation? This is why we like Candace because she's asking questions." It's like, guys, you don't know what the investigators have. You don't know what these detectives have. You just don't know. You don't, because they're gonna withhold some of this information for the trial to not cause a mistrial. They're gonna, hold this information to, find other witnesses and, possible suspects. You know what I mean? Why would you don't announce all the evidence that you have. Like, you know what I mean? Like, did you guys grow up watching crime shows? You know what I mean? Like, the very least? You would have a basic understanding of this, but knowing how the process works, even more so. These criminal investigators, these homicide investigators are not going to give you all the evidence. So this just goes to show you guys that Candace Owens has no idea what she's talking about. She doesn't, because she doesn't know what the investigators actually have. Then in this next clip, oh gosh, this is truly really disturbing behavior. I'm going to just kind of preface this. Now, Candace Owens, what happened a couple weeks ago? What happened a few weeks ago? Erica Kirk announced on X, that on Twitter, that she and Candace Owens were going to meet in a private meeting, and they were going to talk through some of the concerns that Candace had. In my personal opinion, I think that Erica Kirk was I think that she had some bad counsel on that. This is just the way that I personally feel. I think that whoever advised her to do that, um, advised her wrong, because I think that Erica Kirk, genuinely, I just think she needs to sue Candace Owens into oblivion. That's my personal opinion, to get this harassment to stop. But instead, Erica is trying to find the most peaceful route to address these things, without realizing that Candace Owens is a full-on malignant, in my personal opinion, a full-on malignant narcissist, and she's going to keep doing all this stuff. Because Candace Owens is not doing this from a genuine place. Candace Owens is doing this to exploit Charlie Kirk's assassination, and she's going to milk this till it runs dry. That's just my personal belief of what's going on. Now, I preface all that to say, for this clip, that Candace Owens, a couple live streams ago, she platformed this guest called Mitch Snow. Paramount Tactical and others have been doing a phenomenal job at exposing this guy, but basically, he's a veteran and he claims that he was done wrong by the military and all these things. And he went to express his grievance. I'm just paraphrasing, I'm saving you guys from actually watching the episode. But when he was on this episode of Candace's, he basically explained that he went to Fort Huachuca to express some sort of grievances that he had with the military. And while he was there, he claimed to have seen Erica Kirk and Brian Harpool and Cabot Williams at this military base. Um, the night before, or the day before, a couple days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Now, what is she insinuating in all that? She's insinuating that somehow these people, because this guy, who, by the way, exposed by Paramount Tactical, has been exposed to be like this alleged pathological liar. He has been grifting all this time. So Candace Owens starts this GoFundMe, Give, Send, Go for Mitch Snow to, in my personal opinion, I believe that she's somehow paying him off this way, crowdfunding him to be paid off, to be weaponized to slander Erica Kirk. That's my personal opinion. So this Mitch Snow guy basically said, I saw Erica Kirk, Brian Harpool, and Cabot Williams at this military base a day before, and Senator Amadei from Nevada. And, you know, ever since then, Candace Owens has been milking this. Despite people exposing her, despite people exposing Mitch, she has been milking this. Now, in this clip, I'm sorry, I had to like long preface this, but in this clip, she basically is saying that she reached out to Erica for more clarification about like some text message that she sent Andrew Colvett. And she wanted to clarify this text message even more. And I'm going to just let you guys listen to what she has to say about it.
Regarding Fort Huachuca as well, Erica has submitted another follow-up text regarding her whereabouts on the 8th. Now, you will recall, as I told you yesterday, that the issue with the first message that she provided, which was purportedly a conversation between her and Charlie about dinner on the evening of the 8th, was that the contact name was blocked on the message. It was blacked out on the message. I had received that, by the way, on December 28th. I immediately said, hey, could you unblock that or uncover that, rather? And I followed up about 4 to 5 times, just trying to get that before we came back onto the podcast. I just said, I just want to see the contact number shown. Well, when I got off air yesterday, I had a follow up, but it unfortunately was not what we were looking for or what we had asked for. It was just a Charlie Kirk contact card, just like this is Charlie Kirk's contact card in my phone. Now, I should add here that I am obviously working through a third party, and they made it clear that Erica has been tied up with something personal. So that's the reason for the delay. There were sick kids as well throughout the holiday. So there's just been a delay on getting that. But I wanted to let you guys know where we are at. No.
Okay. Like, it's like, I think people just forget that, Erica has a murdered husband. Like, her husband's murdered. He's not coming back. You know what I mean? She has to deal with that. I don't think anybody understands. Like, I can't even fathom, like, what that's like. I can't even fathom to be in her position. Um, and not only that, Charlie Kirk, he desired for his wife to carry on his legacy should this ever happen to him, which it did. Okay, so those two things. She has a murdered husband, and Charlie still entrusted her to carry on his legacy. That's like the that's like top line right now. So can't Erica is still doing all the thing, like she's still a mom. You know what I mean? Like she's still caring for her kids. She if anything has to be there for her kids even more now. And she's dealing with personal matters, she's dealing with sick kids, and she's mourning her husband. And there might be other things that she has to deal with, fires she has to put out. And Candace is over here, bothering her to clarify texts, you know. And this is what I mean, like Proverbs 6 is so significant in this particular case because it's like when you make this guaranteed debt or obligation, God is urging you to fulfill that. God values word of honor. God values like when you say you're going to do something, you do it. When God values when you're indebted and you pay that debt off, that's valued. Um so when Candace Owens says that if Erica tells me to stop, I will stop, and she doesn't stop, to me Candace is heading for a gargantuan destruction, in my personal opinion. To me, this is psychopathic behavior, learning that Erica is caring for her sick kids throughout the holidays of all matters, of all timing. You know what I mean? So there's the holidays, and it's like Candace Owens definitely took time off. You saw her. She's not streaming throughout the holidays, during Christmas or New Year's. Like Candace took time off with her family, and Erica, without a husband, caring for her sick children and dealing with personal matters, Candace expects Erica to respond to her. Like, do you see the pathology here? Like how psychopathic that is. Anyway, I just had to harp on that. So, to top all this stuff off, now Candace insinuated first of all, insinuated that she just went through this like she went through before there was like a few minutes before this clip where she was going through this connection of Tyler Boyer and his cousin and their parents knowing each other and being related to like some politician. I don't know, but she's definitely trying to demonize Tyler Boyer, top executive at TPUSA, and she somehow led down this rabbit hole of Candace insinuating that TPUSA was in close proximity to some child trafficking ring. Now, you guys know that I have my experience and you know my knowledge. I'm going to just comment on this after let you listen to this clip.
That person's name was David Frodsham. He was a top civilian commander at a U.S. air base in Afghanistan. You can go on and you can see that it says that after he left his post, he returned to Fort Huachuca, which is a major Army installation in Arizona, blah, blah, blah. There is also Fort Huachuca base, which gets involved in a scandal relating to child sex trafficking, where Turning Point USA has their base, where they actually decided to put the campus, if you will, Turning Point USA, just outside, literally across the way. There's a place known as Arizona Mills, which is like the number one place for child sex trafficking, just like across the street. I want to be very clear here. I'm saying that I'm making no connection there. I am not suggesting that Turning Point USA is trafficking children. I just want to be very clear. I'm just saying that everywhere I look in this story, themes of child sex trafficking come up. Okay. Anyway, I am wondering regarding Eddie Farnsworth if it is possible that Mitch saw him, because he's a dead ringer for Mark Amadei. When I saw this, I was like, whoa, doppelganger. This man looks like Mark Amadei.
Okay. So she's like, harping. She's like, I'm not making any connections, but she like definitely insinuates. I mean, it's like, first of all, you guys know that I have another platform called the Daily Traffic, which I take time. I take a little hiatus because I'm building something right now with my other organization, Counter Trafficking Alliance. I am building something very complex, very technical. It's turning me into some sort of developer. Like I never anticipated any of this stuff. I was like, but I'm building something. Just know that I'm building something very complicated, but very needful in the space of anti-trafficking. So, with that being said, I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of knowledge. What I know from reading all of the headlines in the trafficking headlines for the Daily Traffic, is that like trafficking happens around the corner. Like, go around the corner. Go around the corner. Anybody go around the corner. Trafficking happens in every single zip code. Like, you have a massage parlor right around the corner that is probably trafficking women and maybe children. You know what I mean? Like, this happens everywhere. This is prevalent everywhere. There is no isolated zip code or isolated city. Like, this is happening in every area, whether it is run down in a city in the rundown places, or in the most affluential places in the most affluential towns. Like, this is happening everywhere. So for Candace to say like, oh, there's this ring like right across the street, like, yeah, there are rings that are happening, like, right around the corner from every single one of our zip codes. There's, like there's no significance in that. And although she's like, "Well, I'm not pinning TPUSA as if they're trafficking children," but then she continues to go on for minutes on end talking about this. She's definitely still implanting that idea that this is, like, some sort of close proximity. Now, what I will say is that, um Candace Owens has no moral authority whatsoever to talk about child trafficking whatsoever. I'm just gonna let you guys watch this. I made this. a couple months ago. I think this was in November, but this is what truly woke me up to Candace Owens, was her defense for Andrew Tate, giving him a softball interview and then misdefining human trafficking and shielding a PDF file guy in the process of all of this. Listen to this. So I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I was a person that took a long time, a while for me to wake up to the true character of Candace Owens. It wasn't until recent years where I broke my cognitive dissonance about Candace Owens, and that's when she was vehemently defending the Tate brothers. And if you know anything about the Tate brothers and the Romanian case, you know that there's a lot of evidence, including their self-produced content, their video clips, their podcasts, their tweets. I mean, so many things where they confess themselves about what they're doing, including the pimp and hose degree.
I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You f the girl. After you f the girl, you do the PhD test. So yeah, on I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is a pimp and hose degree that
Clever.
Now, Candace Owens, when she interviewed them, she didn't push back on any of that. She didn't ask them any hardball questions. In fact, she almost redefined the definition of human trafficking, and she even misrepresented the indictment against them. So that's where I really broke my cognitive dissonance about her. Now, if you think you've seen Candace hit any low in this whole debacle about Charlie Kirk and the way that she's being gross towards his widow, she's been worse before. It wasn't until this production where she utilized an entire episode to go after one of Tate's alleged child trafficking victims, but not only that, she protected a convicted pedophile in the process by bleeping out his name. So she exposed the child trafficking victim's name, but bleeped out the pedophile's name.
The first case involves a man who I am not going to name. The only reason I'm not going to name him is because at the time of the allegations against him was in fact a minor. And that of course is relevant. So we just want to be ethical here and not expose his name so people can look up the case.
Instead of doing a yoga pose as shown here in this 2015 video, 58-year-old Keith Fox posed for a mugshot Tuesday. Police say he had sex with a 15-year-old girl. The arrest report shows that the teen's mother hired a private investigator to follow her daughter and Fox. Last June, while Fox's wife was away on business, the investigator saw the teen at the front window of Fox's home, quote, in the nude, touching one another in a sexual manner.
So we just want to be ethical here and not expose his name so people can look up the case because, as I said, she was underage at the time.
Ethical to a pedophile.
She did talk to detectives, provided lots of details. Other details, according to Delray Beach Police, date back to February last year. It started off with just a very close relationship between a teen student and her yoga instructor. He made a few inappropriate comments. Police say those escalated to several serious allegations against Fox. Those include that he touched her in his car and offered a Thai massage. Of course, there's a reasonable worry that there might be other victims.
As I said, she was underage at the time. Essentially, it was believed that she was having sexual relations with him, and the courts found that to be true. And he is now been sentenced to 24 years in prison.
Delray Beach Police arrested Fox on a charge of sexual battery on a victim over 12 years old. He remains here in a jail cell tonight after a judge denied him bond.
The only reason I'm not going to name him is because at the time of the allegations against him, was in fact a minor, and that of course is relevant. So we just want to be ethical here and not expose his name.
Even think for a second that Candace Owens has reached the bottom of the barrel of humanity's behavior, just know that there's potential to go even lower. That's like my wake up moment to Candace Owens. That was like a couple years ago. So anyway, I've now gone over an hour. Wow, that's a record. Anyway, yeah, that's I mean, just continue a compounding vile behavior on the behalf of Candace Owens, but there's always a lesson to be learned on this because it's my personal belief that she's given into a reprobate mind, which is why she can't keep up with all of this stuff that she has said in the past, that she has defended in the past, and now she wants to have moral authority, and it just it doesn't compute. Anyway, I love you guys. appreciate you guys. I really do love that you guys, I don't know, like find value in these streams. Let me see if there is anything. Here we go. All right. So Super Chat says, how do you think the left got as crazy as they are? By not calling out the crazy far left. Same thing could happen to the right if we are not careful. 100% agree. I think that the left, they prided themselves on the fringiest ideologies. You know what I mean? Like fringe, to the point where they were okaying, like, kind of disguising and masquerading a lot of the pedophilia and calling it different things, exploring their sexuality. You know what I mean? Like there's the fringe. And I do believe like some of this stuff, like I say, horseshoe theory, like the left and the right are very adjacent. So I believe that if we don't call this out, it can definitely take over our party. All right, guys. All right. So with that being said, I will see you guys later. I love you guys. I will see you in the next stream. Bye-bye. Good night.